Hello YouTube. Today we're going to go ahead and cover the presentation on how to create your own quote-unquote fake-a-light using AK mag that are colored sand, which is almost like a tan, but they describe it as sand. I'm using two ingredients here, dyes. I'm going to use the Rit Wine or Bordeaux as they describe it, which is right there. And I'm also going to use the Rit Purple or Púrpura, which is in Spanish. What I did was the mixture was 1 part of wine, which in this case was 1 ounce, and I also used 2.5 ounces of purple dye. Now, as you can see here, I basically started originally with the sand magazine, and I first put in with the 1 ounce of the Rit wine color. And because, again, keep in mind what you're going to end up also using, of course, is some good set of tongs. And I'm using a 12 quart pot. Now keep in mind also that the closer the item is to the heat as far as the bottom, it will absorb quicker the color. However, you do have to kind of do it 2 times over and then several times over. Now this is a good example of how I got it on 2 passes to come out almost a plum color. It almost looks purple, but I ended up doing this in stages. So what I'm going to do here, this is actually, this magazine, because of the size, is actually for roughly about 10 minutes. So how did I accomplish this color compared to this? Again, start out for basically 10 minutes on this. This one will actually pick up the color in about 7 minutes. Again, you don't want to run the water extremely hot. You don't want it boiling. You do want it hot. And then what you're going to do is place the item in like I'm doing here. That's one. Now, what I'm about to show you here is the placement is going to be crucial, because you also have to time this. And the way I did it was as follows. Now that I've got that in there and I've already got my time. What I did the Rit, 1 ounce. I filled up the pot, as you see here, to roughly about 11 quarts of water. And you see it steaming. And I had already placed the 1 ounce of Rit wine, stirred the pot really good, and then placed the items, and it sort of came out of a pinkish color, because that's what wine really is more of a very light red. And then once I placed both items in, they came out essentially pink. Okay, so once it came out pink, then I turned around, got the next set, because I only have room for 1 set, got the next pieces, dumped them into the pot, let them sit for 5 minutes, and then I came back and placed them, and then I grabbed the other set and let it absorb a second time for 5 minutes. Now, in between, about every 2.5 minutes, I was turning the large AK mag, the actual shell itself. Then this I was actually, again, flipping and checking also, about every 2.5, 3 minutes. And then again, I went back to the second one, which is currently in the pot. And then I added the purple, 1 ounce, and did the cycle again. Now, because this magazine is so big, I literally place it in one side for 5 minutes, and then I have to take it out, flip it over, and place it in. So at that time, when I added the mix, the additional 1 ounce, actually I did 1.5 ounces, stand corrected, of the Rit dye, and I stirred the pot very well with the tongs. Then I placed the pieces back in just to make sure that I had good consistency, and I was monitoring. Again, the bottom of the floor plate here will actually be a good indicator. As you can see on this, both sides came out really good. And keep in mind that this is plum, so the way it's really defined is being a combination of flat dark earth or russet, olive, and then a russet, which is kind of an orange color. However, with these magazines, keep in mind that just like the real Bakelite, the color consistency is not always the same. So what you want to do is kind of keep your pieces together. Again, the smaller pieces more than likely will actually pick up the color a lot faster because they sit closer to the bottom. When you have the magazines in there, the magazine is the one that's going to take the longest to actually pick up the color. Now keep in mind, once we get this done and you see it's already drying, I'm getting ready to check this piece. So let me show you how I'm doing this. See, this is picking up nicely. So I'm going to go ahead and place it back in for about another 5 minutes. Okay, now see, I'm trying to get most of the magazine down into the bottom to sink. I do apologize, I'm trying to do this single-handedly. Okay, so I've got that. So now I'm going to try to see if I can fish around. Here we go. Now notice this picked up the color really nice. Oops, we just lost it. Now you can also do this with other colors too, but keep in mind you can get creative. So there you go. So this one's almost the same as this color here. Of course, this is fresh out of the water, and I'm going to let it kind of air cool. So this is a good example how this sat for about 5 minutes and it picked up the color. So this is the one that I just took out, and this is the one that I just did previously at the start of the video. Now the consistency, the darker color you want, that's fine. Just keep in mind you keep it together. So that's what I'm going to go ahead and do here. Again, as you can see here, the magazine is partially sticking out. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is flip the other way around. Since the upper part of the magazine, the rifle is going to hide, then I'm not so much worried about that, because keep in mind that with the AK, on some rifles it may actually scratch the upper part of the magazine depending on fitment, as we all know that the variants do have different types of sizes, and with the Magwell it can have wobble and you can have the bolt carrier scratch it and so on. But as you can see, this one here is not cooperating, so I may have to actually sit it in a different way. So I'm going to have it sit there for the next 5 minutes or so. But in essence, this one has dried nicely to some degree. Now, you do want them to naturally air dry. Now, you're going to have some inconsistencies, and I don't know if the camera's going to pick up. So you're going to have some small inconsistencies, and that's perfectly fine. It's not going to necessarily come out perfect. If you want it perfect, keep in mind you might end up changing the color of the magazine to going darker. But in this case, I more or less found the consistency for the color that I'm going for, which is Magpul Plum. I know there's not too many images online of hardware. I am going to do a video on a Palmetto State Armory AK with Plum MOE furniture, and that's the reason I started doing this. I also have some magazines that I've dyed Russian red using red and scarlet red, and I'm going to do a separate video on that to show you the end product and what I used. I'm sorry, it's cherry red and scarlet red, but I'll cover that in another video. But I just wanted you to get an idea on how to do this. I have not seen anybody upload a video on how to create a plum color furniture to match. Again, you can do this with, you know, AR magazines. And now AR magazines are smaller, so those actually get done a lot quicker. And the option of, you know, changing the colors on these magazines is really strictly up to you, how you want to do it to match your furniture. But I just wanted you to have an understanding. I know this video is going to be a little bit longer than normal, but I just hope this helps somebody. As you can see, this is coming out really nice. I know the light is kind of bringing it kind of a pinkish color, but again, don't let the initial color fool you, because again, you want to keep in mind that the dye is actually soaking into the plastic and it is absorbing it. So again, what you want to do is keep that thought in mind, because in essence you are working with this. The sky's the limit on getting this done, but with an AK mag it will take longer than an AR mag. I know a lot of people say, oh, let it sit for about 5 minutes and everything will be done with an AR mag, and that may be the case, but with an AK mag it is going to take longer. Now the next step that I'll do after this dries is whatever's still left that doesn't air dry, I will turn around and check, and I'm just going to show you. Now I know this is kind of dirty, but let me just show you one thing to keep in mind that a lot of people don't talk about is a lot of times with certain colors it may actually bleed onto a paper napkin. Even though they dry or you've dried them manually with, say, a paper towel, keep in mind you want to go ahead and use some kind of dishwasher like Dawn, which is a degreaser, and you may want to use a scouring pad to remove any excess dye that does not actually wash off. So with the detergent and the scouring pad, or even some 4/0 steel wool, you rub it against this. Again, it's not going to do any harm to it, but what it is, it's going to remove any excess dye that stays, because otherwise it'll dye your hands and you'll end up getting stains and you're wondering why. And that's one thing that I've noticed in other videos. No one ever talks about that detail, is washing. They always make it very, very simple, which is great, but they don't tell you what else is going to happen. So just keep that thought in mind when you're doing these. I hope this helps. If you have any questions, please place them in the comments below. Please stand by for the next video. Once I get that together, I'll go ahead and cover the presentation on how to possibly do the Russian red style fake-alike, or even the orange color type. Thank you for watching. Always enjoy your AKs. Thank you for the subs that you provided in the many years. Have a great day.